Exposed, the sinister secret of Carmilla, a spine-chilling tale of haunted love and cursed desire. Claire's heart raced, pounding like the thunder that rolled in the distance, as she squinted at the old farmhouse lurking at the edge of Willow Creek. Shadows danced in its windows, edgy and unnatural, rumors swirling around it like the smoke from the flickering street lamps. Unease gripped the neighborhood ever since 17-year-old Emily Foster vanished, leaving behind only hushed whispers and frantic imaginations. It was a sinister air that tethered itself to the minds of every resident in the tightly knit community, drawing them into a vortex of fear and suspicion. And now, as single mother to an imaginative 8-year-old boy named Tommy, Claire felt that darkness creeping into her own home. On nights when she returned after closing the diner, the sensation of icy fingers brushing against her spine haunted her, a warning of something lurking just beyond her sight. It wasn't the simple weight of unpaid bills or the exhaustion from working long shifts that left her unnerved, it was the inexplicable flickering of lights, the bone-chilling drafts that swept through their modest house, and the way Tommy's sketches morphed into chilling representations of a woman with eyes like blackened pools. One evening, Claire entered the house, fatigue dragging her heels, only to find Tommy at the kitchen table, scribbling hunched over in the dim light. The half-drawn image leaped at her, an echo of the ghastly woman from her dreams. Panic flared in her chest. It was almost as if Tommy had conjured Carmilla, the rumored spirit who devoured dreams and lured the lonely into despair. A sudden chill filled the air, seeping into her bones, and Claire shook her head, attributing the fear to her tired mind, but as days morphed into nights, and whispers refrayed into paranoia, she couldn't shake the premonition that Carmilla wasn't just a story. Seeking comfort, she turned to her neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove, who merely nodded knowingly as Claire recounted Tommy's drawings. "Focus on him, dear," she admonished, her words cloaked in masked concern. "He needs stability. We've had enough darkness here. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One chilling night, after learning from an eavesdropping neighbor that the police had stopped gathering clues in Emily's case, dread clawed at her ribs. Something was wrong. The tight community fabric frayed further, unraveling before her. Driven by a mix of fear and urgency, she ventured to the abandoned farmhouse, the very heart of Carmilla's legends. Inside, the air crackled, and the frozen silence screamed dangers without words. Cryptic symbols snaked across the peeling walls, like forgotten prayers for the lost souls who fell prey to despair. A rush of cold air swept through her as she stumbled back, heart racing, sensing danger creeping ever closer. Clutching her chest, she returned home, terror pooling in her throat. There, the comforting presence of Tommy felt distant. As she reached for him, an icy breath ghosted against her neck, a stark reminder that the true danger might not dwell in the whispers of the farmhouse but float like a shadow in their very own living room. As Claire locked the door against the dark, her heart thundered with a new fear. What hidden horrors thrived in her seemingly safe home? And what would she do to protect Tommy from the truth that threatened to consume them both? The house creaked as if it held its breath, the silence thickening around Claire like an unwanted shroud. She could barely see Tommy's small frame in the shadows, illuminated just enough by the flickering light of a single lamp. The familiar warmth of motherhood suddenly felt suffocating as tendrils of fear wrapped around her consciousness. "Tommy," she whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. Panic danced at the edge of her mind. There was something unsettling in the way he stared at his drawings, the crumpled pages littering the table like crumbled offerings to a dark deity. He looked up slowly, a dreamy glaze covering his eyes. "Mom, can we draw together?" His voice was soft, deceptively innocent. But it grated against the fabric of Claire's frayed nerves, sending a shiver racing down her spine. "Sure, buddy." She sat across from him, forcing a smile. "What will we draw?" His pencil hovered over the paper as if a phantom hand compelled it. "Carmilla," he said, a trace of excitement mingling with a seriousness that belied his age. A wave of nausea rolled through her. "No," she interjected too sharply, and the sound broke the stillness like shattering glass. Tommy raised an eyebrow, his expression unyielding. "How about something else? Like, a comic? Or, superheroes?" He shook his head slowly, each movement pitching Claire deeper into despair. "Carmilla needs to be here." "She's lonely," Tommy murmured, his voice vacant. Her heart raced. "Tommy, listen to me. Carmilla isn't real. She's just a story." But the moment left her throat dry, words tasting bitter. Deep down, she felt the weight of her own doubt. How could she convince him when her own fears echoed through the walls? His gaze wandered to the dark corners of the room, as if sensing something beyond her sight. "They say she helps lost kids find their way," he said, a faint smile breaking across his lips. Just then, the power flickered violently, plunging the house into darkness. Claire felt her breath hitch, and panic clawed at her throat. "Stay close to me, Tommy." She stood, fumbling for her phone when suddenly, a low, haunting whisper washed over her. It snaked around her like an embrace, chilling and ethereal. "Help me, did you hear that?" she asked, trembling, her heart hammering against her ribcage. Tommy nodded, eyes wide. "Carmilla." His smile faded, replaced by a sorrow that was far too old for a child. Claire's pulse quickened as shadows lurked in the corners, merging into amorphous shapes. "No." She squeezed her eyes shut, bracing against the unseen hands that seemed to grip the air tight around her. As she opened her eyes, there was a figure emerging from the darkness just beyond Tommy. A woman stood there, ethereal and haunting. Eyes like pools of despair met hers, pulling her in with a gaze that promised the unraveling of her very being. "Carmilla," Tommy breathed, entranced. "Tommy." "No." Claire screamed, lunging towards him as the chilling figure began to dissolve into a swirling mist. But instead of retreating, Tommy reached out, his tiny fingers stretching towards the ghostly apparition. "She's not mean, Mom. She just wants to talk." Terror filled her veins as time-shattered clocks stopped, the air thickened, and reality twisted. "Tommy, listen to me." Claire's voice trembled as she grabbed his shoulders, her own sobs threatening to break free. But he didn't respond. He stood transfixed, as if entranced by the sinister spirit that beckoned him. In that moment, all the lights returned, casting a harsh glare. The figure was gone, leaving only unsettling echoes in the air. What did she want? Claire asked, her heart pounding, but dread clenched around her throat. The question lingered like a noose tightening, chilling her bones. As Tommy finally turned to face her, his expression was unreadable. "She said she can help if we let her in." Claire felt the walls of their home closing in, forcing her to confront the darkness that might be all around them or within. The uncertainty churned inside her as she grasped Tommy's hand tightly. "No. We can't let her in. We need to get away." But where could they go when the darkness thrived wherever they turned? And as the shadows danced in the corners of her mind, Claire couldn't shake the last echo of that chilling whisper. "Help me." What made her so certain it wasn't just a plea but a dire warning, one that could spell disaster if ignored? Claire's heart raced as she tightened her grip on Tommy's hand. The overwhelming dread pulsed through her, a ceaseless drum against the quiet that now felt oppressive. With a swift glance around their dimly lit home, the shadows seemed to pulse and breathe, alive with secrets she wished to forget. "Let us go to the kitchen," she suggested, the word tasting foreign on her tongue. The kitchen was usually a refuge, filled with light, smiles, and the comforting smell of fresh cookies. But now it felt like an anchor pulling her deeper into a sea of terror. "Do we have to?" Tommy's voice was hesitant, his eyes darting back to the dark corners they were leaving behind, as if suspecting Carmilla still lurked within their walls. "Yes, we have to." Claire's voice came out stronger than she felt, cutting through the haze of fear that surrounded them. He nodded but didn't move. Mom. Tommy's voice was small, trembling. What if Carmilla is by herself? What if she gets hurt? A cold shiver shot down Claire's spine. This wasn't just a child's naivete, it felt weighted, like he carried knowledge beyond his years. Listen to me, Tommy. Sometimes people who seem lost are actually dangerous. She prayed he would understand this, grasping at any flicker of normalcy. As they reached the kitchen, Claire flipped the light switch, but the bulb flickered uncertainly before failing, leaving them bathed in shadows once again. She felt the warmth of Tommy's small body beside her, a grounding presence in a sea of dread. Carmilla wouldn't hurt me, Mom, he insisted, bounded by childlike faith. Tommy, please. Terror choked her words. But out of the corner of her eye, she caught movement, a fleeting shadow darting across the hallway. Stay here. Claire barked, more fiercely than intended. Mom! Tommy cried out, but Claire was already moving. She turned toward the hallway, pulse racing, and recoiled at what she saw. Something was flickering like fingers curling around the edges of dark. She stepped closer, heart hammering. Show yourself. The demand hung in the air like a challenge. The darkness coalesced, forming a shape that trembled, and there, in the dimness, stood Carmilla. She was translucent, a whisper of a figure, her face a tableau of grief and longing. The woman's long hair cascaded around her shoulders like liquid night, and her eyes glinted with an unsettling familiarity. Help me. Carmilla's voice was a mournful echo that wrapped around Claire, tightening like a vice. Tommy stepped beside her, drawn inexplicably closer, the fear slipping from his small frame, replaced by an insatiable curiosity. What do you want? Claire shouted, feeling her bravado slipping, fear seeping into her resolve. To be free. Carmilla's eyes locked onto Claire's, a despair mingled with desperation. Set me free. I can help you both. The air sparkled with a cold tension. Claire felt the familiar dread creeping back in. By letting you in. The figure's sad smile faded. No, by understanding. Tommy looked from his mother to the ghostly figure, confusion lined across his innocent face. What does she mean, Mom? Claire shook her head, panic clawing her throat. Tommy, no. We need to go upstairs, now. But as she turned to pull him away, he remained rooted, eyes locked on Carmilla, both frightened and entranced. I want to help her. The house sighed, an eerie resonance that left Claire breathless. An undeniable chill wove through her, tightening the space around them. The walls felt closer, alive, as if they fed on their fear. Claire gripped Tommy tighter, ready to drag him away when suddenly the power surged back on with a violent crackle. Flashes of light danced around the room, illuminating Carmilla's form. But instead of retreating, the ghost surged forward, her wail piercing through the air. Don't let me fade. Please. In that instant, their world shifted. The kitchen wavered, and Claire felt the floor beneath them tremble. The walls warped, merging into shadows as Carmilla's plea echoed louder, drowning out everything. Tommy, come on. Claire cried out, frantically trying to pull him along as darkness reached out for them. But the ground twisted, locking them in place. Mom! I want to help her. Tommy protested, his small voice unwavering against the chaos. No! Claire shouted, wrenching him back. We can't. The darkness lurked, hungry and relentless, and Claire suddenly realized her son was teetering on the edge of a decision that could upend their lives forever. What would it cost to let Carmilla in? She felt her breath falter as the haunted eyes of the spirit bore into her. Each heartbeat throbbed with the weight of a terrible choice, and suddenly, the shadows seemed to whisper all around them, echoing a threat cloaked in despair. Help me. Claire's heart dropped. Could they escape the pull of a specter desperate for freedom, or would this be the moment everything changed? The air felt electric, thick with dread, as Claire fought to keep her grip on Tommy. The glow of the kitchen light flared again, shedding stark illumination on Carmilla's anguished face. But it wasn't he the ghost that terrified her most, it was her son, still entranced, his eyes shimmering with an unholy curiosity. "No, Tommy. We have to go." Claire's voice cracked, desperation clawing at her throat. "Mom, she needs us. Can't you see?" Tommy's gaze remained fixed on the spirit, unwavering, each word pulling him closer to her spectral form. Carmilla's breath-like whisper swept through the kitchen, "Love is what binds us. Help me break my chains." With each word, Claire felt the room constrict, air thinning like the pressure before a storm. Tommy's expression morphed, his innocence slipping away, replaced by an eagerness that made Claire's skin crawl. She yanked at his arm, but he wouldn't budge, as if cemented to the floor. "Please," Carmilla urged, extending her hand, the fingers almost brushing against Tommy's cheek. He sighed, his small body leaning forward, captivated by the ghost's sorrow. A deep fear pooled within Claire's chest. She remembered the tale's cautionary whispers from the elderly neighbors about spirits lurking in the veil of lost dreams, how they preyed on the vulnerable. This wasn't he just a ghost, Carmilla was a siren, reveling in despair and longing to reclaim the life she lost, even if it meant dragging another into her dark abyss. "Tommy, you don't know her. Let us leave now," Claire shouted, panic rising in her voice. In that moment, the shadows thickened around them, tendrils reaching out as if responding to a silent command from Carmilla. The kitchen grew dim again, light flickering off and on sporadically, as the house came alive with cracks and groans. Claire's heart pounded like a war drum, urging her to act, to protect her son. "Mom, don't you want to be free from this fear?" Tommy's voice turned softer, a pleading tone that seeped through Claire's resolve. "She can help us. We just need to listen." The walls trembled, sending shivers rolling down Claire's spine. A sudden blast of wind swept through the kitchen, snuffing out the light completely, plunging them into darkness. "Tommy!" Claire cried out, her voice trembling as she felt for him, grabbing his hand tight. "Stay with me." Carmilla's laughter echoed, hollow, reverberating through the blackness. "You can't run from what you fear. Join me in my eternal longing. You'll know peace." "No." Claire gasped, wrestling with the grip of unseen forces pulling at their feet. They staggered as the kitchen warped, reality itself seemingly fraying around them. "Help me." Carmilla's voice floated through the murk, seductive and sorrowful. "Together, we can make it right." In the deep silence that followed, Claire's breath hitched. She blinked, her eyes adjusting. Suddenly, the kitchen retched into view through thin fingers of light, illuminating a small part of the room. There, in front of her, lay a dark shape, a journal, pages fluttering as though caught in a wind of sorrow. "What's that?" she whispered, dread prickling her skin. Tommy's eyes brightened, a spark of recognition from memories long buried. "Mom, that's from the attic." "What are you saying?" Claire clutched the back of her son's shirt, pushing him subtly behind her. It was Carmilla's. "It has the answers." The reality of it hit Claire hard. This could uncover Carmilla's tragic truth or unleash something darker. "No." She gasped. "We can't go back. We can't let her control us." But in her strongest fear, Claire felt the relentless tug of history. The kitchen was a battleground between love and despair, pulling her between the years and whispers of truth long forgotten. "Tommy." The shadows crept closer, enfolding around them like dark waves, carrying whispers of desperation. Claire felt something break inside her as she fought against the gnawing craving for knowledge that tugged at her mind. Would she dare open the journal and gaze upon the dark secrets it contained, or would fate conspire to shatter everything they held dear? As the chanting of the shadows grew louder, a question echoed: what price would they pay to confront the past? Claire's heart raced as she locked eyes with her son, a storm of panic swirling inside her. The shadows thickened, whispering urges that twisted her fear into a tangible thing. She could almost feel their icy fingers trailing along her skin, tempting her to succumb to the darkness. But she couldn't lose Tommy, not now, not ever. Tommy, listen to me. Her voice sliced through the dim air. This is not real. She's lying. We have to escape. Yet Tommy's face was a mask of longing. Mom, we can help her. Please. Struggling against the force of the room, Claire felt the pull of the journal, an abyss of secrets just waiting to be unraveled. She hesitated, the journal's dark presence glinting in its beckoning light. What if it held the key to understanding Carmilla's pain? What if it was the only way to free them both? Tommy! She shouted, drawing on every ounce of courage she could muster. That thing is dangerous. The shadows whispered her name, slithering closer, coaxing her to embrace the past, to unearth the buried truths. You want to know what your family really is, don't you? Carmilla's voice resonated in the darkness, weaving an irresistible spell. A gust of wind howled through the kitchen, flooding it with cold air that made her shiver. The candles on the counter flickered back to life with a steady pulse, illuminating the narrow space between them and the journal. The pale light cast long shadows on the walls, twisting them into grotesque shapes that warped Claire's perception of reality. No. I want to let you do this. Claire yelled, her voice growing desperate. She lunged forward, determined to snatch the journal away from whatever dark influence clung to it. But as she grabbed it, the air thickened, sapping her strength. Tommy gasped, his voice frail. Mom, don't. Carmilla's laughter spilled from all corners, echoing as if the walls were laughing with her. You're too late. The truth will find you. It cannot be hidden. The journal felt impossibly heavy in Claire's hands, the pages trembled as if alive. Her heart pounded a frantic rhythm as she clutched it to her chest and tried to reclaim her will. Memories began to wash over her, whispers of the past that she had thought buried forever. Images of laughter and love twisted into shadows of despair, a fragile thread binding them to Carmilla. Stay with me, Tommy. Claire hissed, her mind racing for a solution. The kitchen felt alive, a monstrous beast waiting to be fed with the price of despair, but she failed to notice the flickering light that danced around them, gathering strength. Rumbling in the distance, a low growl began to rise as the shadows conspired, emboldened by the tension. The room felt suffocating, the weight of Carmilla's sorrow echoing within its walls. Join me, Claire, Carmilla murmured, her tone laced with false comfort. You know the truth is your only salvation. Your family needs you to understand. With trembling hands, Claire opened the journal, pages crumbling as they revealed faded ink, tales of love twisted by betrayal, and a darkness that loomed heavy over every line. Each word drew her deeper, threatening to unveil a curse that might tether them to an eternity of suffering. No. I can't let you have him. She screamed and thrust her will against the spectral force, but the shadows surged forward. The air roared with fury, and in that pulse, sunlight dimmed into oblivion. The walls shook, each crack vibrating through her bones. Entranced, Tommy took a step closer to the growing void, his hand reaching for Carmilla's ghostly warmth. Claire felt her heart drop. Tommy! She shouted, urgency rising, beyond the echoing laughter, a dark realization settled in her gut. What lies were they about to confront? What untold terror waited behind those gilded pages? The battle for their souls had only just begun, and the secret slumbering in that journal carried a weight that could shift the world beneath them. But could the truth protect them, or would it bind them in chains as heavy as the shadows themselves? With the kitchen spiraling into chaos, Claire's world tilted dangerously on the edge. And in that moment of desperation, only one question blazed in her mind: what was she truly willing to sacrifice to save her son? The journal's pages erupted with an unearthly shriek, peeling back memories that clawed at Claire's sanity. Each word was a dagger, piercing through the surface of her calm and unearthing the tempest of emotions she had buried long ago. The ink seemed to swirl with a life of its own, dark tendrils creeping into her thoughts. Mom! Tommy's voice wavered, pulling her back for a moment, but Carmilla's pull was relentless. She could see it now, a web woven from despair, stretching across generations. Love, betrayal, and the unrelenting curse bestowed upon her family. The kitchen darkened further, pulsing rhythmically with an unseen heartbeat. Look closer, Claire. Your family's torment is no accident. You've always known. Carmilla's words wormed deeper, as if whispered from the very walls themselves, their cold fingers coiling tighter around her mind. Claire grit her teeth against the tidal wave of truth. No. You won't take him. She clutched the journal, its texture a chaotic storm beneath her fingers. As the black ink bled across the page, the shadows coalesced, morphing into images that flickered with a sickening familiarity. Her ancestors, their faces twisted in agony, eyes vacant, forever trapped between worlds. A cacophony erupted. Glass shattered as a dark wave crashed against the kitchen walls, shaking her to the core. She stumbled back, but the shadows lunged forward, wrapping around Tommy like a vice. Let him go. She shouted, wrenching her eyes from the depths of the journal. In one swift motion, she slammed the book shut, but it was too late. The shadows recoiled, hissing as they lost their momentary grip on her son. Their elongated fingers reached for the journal, desperate for access to the bitter truths within. You cannot escape this. Carmilla cried, her voice echoing with a chilling finality. You are entwined in this destiny. Embrace it. A desperate flash of defiance ignited within Claire. She dashed towards Tommy, grabbing his arm, but his gaze had transformed. His eyes glowed with an eerie light, the same spectral glow that emanated from Carmilla. He was slipping away into that void, an ethereal connection growing stronger. Tommy, fight it. Please. Claire screamed, shaking him fervently. I can see her, Mom. She's helping us. She wants us to know. His voice was distant, a distorted whisper lost in the unsettling darkness. No. Claire's heart hammered wildly as she wrestled with her son's phantom embrace. Carmilla is lying to you. For a fleeting moment, the shadows wavered, uncertainty rippling through them. Claire's focus narrowed on the journal again. The weight of every word pulsated beneath her palms. If she opened it again, would it release even darker horrors? Or would it provide the answers they desperately needed? As if reading her thoughts, Carmilla's laughter rose in pitch, weaving through the shadows like a sinister melody. The truth will never perish. It will only consume you. Caught in this deadly whirlwind of choices, Claire's instincts screamed. The bond she felt toward her son surged: love, pain, hope. It all coalesced into a single thought. She had to end this, had to find a way to cut them free. With one hard breath, Claire made her decision. She grasped the journal tightly, inhaling the cold, stale air as she prepared to open it once more. The shadows writhed in anticipation around her, hungry, waiting. The kitchen trembled, poised on the brink of revelation, chaos buzzing all around, but what new terror would be unleashed? What secrets would turn their fight into a battle for survival against not only Carmilla, but something far older, far more sinister? In that moment of stillness before she plunged headlong into the dark, the question loomed ominously: could she bear the cost of the truth they were about to uncover? The air shifted, thickening with the weight of impending doom. Claire squeezed her eyes shut, pulse racing wildly. She wanted to fight, to push back against that suffocating darkness swirling around them, but the urge to uncover the truth intertwined with her fear. Tommy's voice trembled softly. Mom, I can hear her. She's calling. Shut up. Claire shouted, her desperation blackening her tone. She threw caution to the wind, wrenching the journal open again. The pages fluttered violently, revealing an even deeper ink-stained abyss. The shadows shimmered in response, their forms shifting, twisting grotesquely as the world around them warped. They were alive, thrumming with anticipation, ready to rush forth. The kitchen began to fade, walls morphing and peeling like old wallpaper, shedding years of secrets. Claire's heart raced. What will you give to save him? Carmilla's voice slithered through the room, sweet yet venomous. Will you trade your soul? Your very sanity? The journal glowed, and Claire's hands trembled as it revealed more. The entries blurred like a forgotten history. Names, dates, and unholy pleas for forgiveness sprawled across the page. Each mark a testament to the horror that devoured her lineage. The stench of decay crawled into her nostrils, tightening her throat. You were chosen, Claire. Just like the others. Carmilla's laughter echoed, peeling away sanity with each shriek. Claire felt the shadows inch closer, their icy fingertips brushing against her skin. She was unearthing a nightmare that had lain dormant for generations. Mom, don't leave me. Tommy pleaded, his voice barely a whisper, yet it clung to her like a frigid fog. No. I won't let her take you. Claire's resolve solidified. She could feel the darkness crawling into her very being, probing for weaknesses. With each breath, she ripped through the pages, heart racing as she searched for anything that could shield her family from Carmilla's clutches. An insistent thrum pulsed beneath her fingers. She looked closer. Among the scrawled messages was a name, Seraphine. It leapt off the page, glowing with an unnatural light. The figures in the ink shifted, as if Seraphine were reaching out through centuries, begging for release. What had she endured? What price had her family paid for freedom? The shadows recoiled, hissing in profound agitation. Do not summon her. She brings only despair. Why? Claire shouted defiantly, each word a spark against the darkness. Tell me what she did. What are you afraid of? A sudden wail emerged from the depths of the shadows, echoing through time. Claire staggered back, feeling a chilling grip on her heart. The shadows grew desperate, thrashing as if the light of Seraphine threatened to expose their ancient sins. Your blood is the key. The voices murmured in unison, their grips firm. Claire watched in horror as the shadows encircled Tommy again, his glowing eyes a beacon amidst the chaos. Please, Tommy. Fight it. Her voice cracked, piercing through the belching darkness. She had to protect him, but the journal trembled violently in her grasp, urging her onward while holding her in place. The revelations throughout her family's history began to unravel with momentum. Claire felt dizzy as distant echoes of betrayal, pain, and twisted love surged, and suddenly something immense shifted behind the shadows. A figure loomed more substantial than any hint of Carmilla, dark but tragically beautiful. Release me, it whispered, and Claire gasped. Desperate urgency clawed at Claire's mind. Could Seraphine truly help? Was the key to breaking this curse locked within her? Or was she merely a more potent vessel for doom? Before she could decide, a blinding light erupted from the journal, illuminating everything. The shadows howled, harsh and shrill. Tommy screamed. Mom! What are you doing? Was shining a light into this darkness yet another mistake? Or was it their only chance at salvation? As Claire clutched Tommy's arm tightly, she realized they were standing at the edge of a precipice, a decision between tragic histories or a hopeful escape. But even as the light shone brighter, a question loomed, ominous and dread-laden: would the truth they sought become their salvation or lead to their final unraveling? The light pulsated violently, illuminating the shadows that writhed like serpents in agony. Claire bit her lip, heart slamming against her chest as if trying to escape the tightening grip of fear. She saw Carmilla emerge, her form flickering in the light but filled with fury. Foolish girl. You think you can banish me? The rasp of Carmilla's voice hung thick in the air. Each word dripped with poison, and the shadows around her coiled tighter, almost as if they were protecting her from the light. Just stay away from him. Claire shouted, pulling Tommy closer. His wide eyes shimmered in the radiance, panic tugging at his every feature. Mom, it's too bright. Tommy whimpered, shielding his eyes with his small hands. No. No. Just hold on, Tommy. We can do this. Claire felt strength coursing through her as desperation morphed into a fierce determination. She had to believe Seraphine was their only hope. With trembling hands, she turned the pages of the journal again, its glow illuminating ancient secrets that begged to be unearthed. As she searched, the air grew colder, biting into her skin. The shadows around her twisted and churned, transforming into grotesque faces and clawing hands as they reached for her. Each one seemed to whisper her name, each voice clawing at her sanity. Carmilla was merely a shadow of what you face, a cold voice croaked from the depths. Seraphine is the true danger. Enough. Claire screamed, pushing herself deeper into the words of the journal, seeking guidance. The ink seemed to ripple, revealing a ritual way to summon Seraphine, but also a hint of the cost. Time twisted at the edges of Claire's perception, each second stretching in the depth of darkness. Which? You will drown with them. Carmilla hissed, her voice becoming the wailing of countless souls trapped in torment. The room pulsed with their cries, a cacophony of anguish that filled Claire with dread, yet she pressed on. The pages rustled more insistently, offering her the key. Sacrifice, they whispered softly, for salvation. Claire's stomach turned. What sacrifice? What would it cost her? The chilling vision of Tommy slipping away but also of tasting the glimpse of freedom sent her heart racing. She had to believe she could change their fate. Seraphine. Claire called out, breaking through the tumult. If you're in there, please. Help us. In that moment, the shadows shrieked. A massive wave of darkness surged toward Claire and Tommy, pulling them into its suffocating depths. Tommy screamed, his voice fading into the maelstrom. No. Fight it, Tommy. Claire's voice was a desperate wail as she felt the shadows clawing at her, their cold breath wrapping around her throat. But in the pit of the darkness, she sensed a flicker of light, a spirit flickering like a candle struggling in a storm. Free me. It echoed, stronger this time, resonating through Claire's bones. She could feel Seraphine's anguish bleed into her heart, and for a moment, her fear dissolved in raw empathy. Okay. I will do it, whatever it takes. She forced the words out, an oath mingled with fear. But first, let him go. The shadows hesitated. The wails faded momentarily. Claire sensed an opening, an ephemeral connection with Seraphine that felt like a lifeline. Deep within her, she realized the power of choice mattered now more than ever. Listen to the girl, the voice warned, quieter now, almost faltering. The light started to distort, the room twisting around her. The journal glowed fiercely in response, thrumming, its pages rustling like the wings of caged birds. What she found there stirred her again, not simple solutions but harrowing truths, the price they would have to pay for freedom. And then it came, a single terrifying thought crashing through her like a wave from the ocean. Would the truth about Seraphine cancel out their chance for survival or lead them into deeper despair? Do you understand what you risk? The shadows taunted. Claire felt a cold sweat bead on her forehead. I'm not backing down. Not now. Not ever, she breathed fiercely, clutching Tommy tighter. Suddenly, the grip of darkness loosened for just a moment, a window of opportunity that felt increasingly fragile. As shadows faded, Claire stood at the threshold of doom and salvation, her next steps carved in uncertainty, but looming above them, the question echoed relentlessly, would their fight bring peace, or would it spark a devastating chain reaction that no one could contain? The room shuddered around Claire, the oppressive darkness stuttering momentarily as if mocking her flickering hope. The shadows drew back slightly, swirling like a storm cloud caught in the grip of a powerful wind, but the momentary lapse in intensity only amplified the tension. If Seraphine was indeed their only salvation, the very act of summoning her felt like stepping into a trap laid by a master predator. Tommy, hold my hand. Claire urged, though her voice felt fragile against the vast silence that followed the chaos. Tommy's small fingers slipped into hers, trembling yet clinging tightly. Mom, his gaze was wide and terrified, reflecting the swirling shadows around them. What if they find us? Just trust me, she replied, her voice steadier than the fear gripping her heart. She turned back to the journal, flipping frantically to the page she had seen moments ago. It's here somewhere, the ritual. The page turned like a portal, revealing cryptic symbols that glitched in and out of focus. The language seemed alive, writhing under her gaze, taunting her to decipher its meaning before whatever darkness loomed overhead tightened its grip again. The air grew thicker, buzzing with some dark energy that made her skin crawl. "Sacrifice," she whispered, heart racing. The shadows slumbered beneath her words, as if digesting the idea. With a sudden rush, clarity washed over her. "I need to summon Seraphine. I can bargain with her mom. Look out!" Tommy screamed, pointing as the shadows surged forward with renewed vigor. Claire felt their cold fingers inching closer, and instinct kicked in. Without thinking, she grabbed a candle from the broken remnants of a nearby shelf, light spilling from its wick like a desperate pulse. "By the light of truth, I summon you, Seraphine. Show yourself!" She shouted, her voice echoing against the walls, slicing through the darkness. The shadows roared, a cacophony of screams mixed with laughter that reverberated eerily. But Claire stood her ground, heart thunderous in her chest. The candle flared, illuminating a face within the thick, entangling dark, a face that was beautiful and horrifying at once, its features shifting and blending with the shadows. "Foolish girl," it rasped, voiced the smooth caress of silk laced with blades. "What do you seek from me?" "Seraphine. I can help you. We can set you free." Claire's desperation clawed at her tongue. For the briefest moment, she thought she saw a glint of hope in the spirit's eyes, yet it was quickly swallowed by the abyss around her. "Help." Seraphine's laughter was a haunting echo, and the shadows writhed, creeping back toward Tommy. "You think so little of what binds me. What will you give?" Claire swallowed hard, her throat constricting. "Anything. Just let him go. Anything." The darkness around Seraphine pulsed, a sinister rhythm echoing in the chamber. "Your blood, your memories, your very soul." In that moment, the world crashed down once more, shadows stretching into claws reaching for her. Claire felt the pulse of fear tightening around her, squeezing, suffocating. Time warped. The choice lay before her like a razor blade. Her mind raced. Could she sacrifice herself for Tommy? "Mom!" Tommy's cry split the air, and it struck Claire like lightning. She could not let him suffer. Whatever salvation existed in the dark would be grasped with the weight of her own flesh. "Okay. Yes." She started, but then the flickering light from her candle sputtered violently. Seraphine's face morphed into a grotesque grin, shadows swirling around her like venomous vipers. "Then know the cost." And just like that, the candle extinguished with a dying gasp, plunging them into the depths of true darkness. The air froze, leaving Claire gasping, her heart a drum pounding against the walls of terror closing in once more. "No!" she screamed, reaching for Tommy in the overwhelming blackness, but the whispers returned menacing and mocking, wrapping around her mind, threatening to tear her apart. "What have you traded?" they hissed. In the widening void, Claire's world teetered on the brink of despair. And she realized the shadows might not want to let her go at all. As rage surged through her, she clenched her fists, knowing she either had to defy the darkness or let it take everything. "Where are you, Seraphine?" Claire shouted into the void, clinging to the last thread of hope. "Show yourself." A chilling silence followed, one filled with anticipation, dread hanging like a blade above her. And in that breathless moment, the question hung heavy in the air: was she awakened to fight, or merely bait for a greater evil? Suddenly, a voice slithered from the shadows, sharp as glass. "You seek freedom? Then you must unchain the past." Claire's heart thudded like thunder in her chest, each beat an echo of desperation. "Unchain the past?" she shouted, the darkness wrapping tighter as if awaiting her surrender. The shadows twisted around her like predatory creatures, thrumming with a wicked anticipation. "What does that mean?" "Your family's despair runs deeper than you know, Claire." A flicker of light appeared Seraphine's shimmering figure, both alluring and deadly, her voice smooth yet cracked. "Only by confronting your truth can you unbind yourself from their fate." Claire's gut churned. She could feel the weight of generations bearing down on her, tales of sadness, loss, and secrets long buried. The air thickened with their sorrows. Her mind raced, the realization sparking like a wildfire, this was not just about survival. It was about breaking the cycle. What do I need to do? She asked, suddenly resolute. She wouldn't let her past dictate her future, the love for Tommy surged through her. Tell me. Seraphine's eyes held an unfathomable depth, a pool of ancient wisdom and heartache. You must acknowledge the love that was lost, and the sorrow that binds you both. Claire squeezed Tommy's hand tightly, pulling him into her embrace. The shadows writhed around them, but she felt a flicker of strength blooming within. Then I'll remember. I'll face it, no matter what it takes. The darkness hissed, recoiling as Claire's resolve ignited a fragile flame of truth. Tommy looked up at her, confusion mingling with hope. Mom. Stay with me, Tommy. We're going to break this curse together. Her voice was steady, cutting through the clutches of despair as she focused on the memories, summoning them to her mind like a beacon to light the way. Set me free, Seraphine coaxed, her voice twisting with the shadows. Embrace what your heart fears. Claire took a deep breath and recalled the stories her grandmother had told her, of love unrecognized, of familial bonds suffocated by pain. The laughter of those who passed echoed in her ears, the warmth of family gatherings, the love they shared, and the weight of untold sorrow. She could feel it, raw and fierce. Eleanor, Claire whispered. I remember you let it go. Tommy cried out softly, squeezing her hand. You have to let it out. With each word, Claire felt the burden of her lineage shift, a weight lifting as if releasing the heartache that had held them captive. I'm so sorry, she said through trembling lips, voice clear as she confronted every fault, every regret she carried in silence. I'm sorry for the fear and pain. Even in darkness, she felt light swell within. The shadows screeched angrily, swirling around them with a fury she could taste. You think acknowledging pain will save you? Carmilla's voice echoed in a laugh so chilling it pierced her heart. Embrace the darkness, Claire, it's your destiny. No. Claire shouted back, her voice rising above the cacophony. She held Tommy tightly. I choose love. I choose to remember not just the sadness, but the joy we had. The kitchen trembled, reverberating with the energy of her declaration, the air shifting and growing warmer, the shadows shrieking in protest. Claire's defiance was a beacon, illuminating the darkness and shattering its grasp as memories flooded forward in an embrace of light. With one last surge of clarity, Claire declared, I forgive you all. The shadows shrieked, writhing in agony as the brightness pushed against them, and through the chaos, she felt a new presence joining them. Seraphine's figure shimmered, her earlier ominous tone transformed into one of compassion. Then set us free, the spirit urged softly, and in doing so, Claire felt threads connecting throughout time snapping at last, releasing them from anguish. Together. She yelled, holding Tommy's hand. Let us free our hearts. The light exploded around them, washing away shadows, revealing warmth, love blossoming in every corner where despair had lingered. The journal fell from Claire's grip, its grip on their fate broken, the secrets unfurling like long-buried flowers blooming into the open AIR's shadows. Dissipated, Carmilla's form flickered one last time, her face twisted in disbelief before vanishing into dust, trailing off into nothingness. The air lightened immediately, carrying a peace Claire had yearned for, that she had almost lost. Tommy looked up at her, wide-eyed and filled with wonder as the last threads of darkness evaporated. Did we do it, Mom? Yes, we did, Claire breathed, holding him tightly. The room slowly returned to normal, the chaos settling into an eerie stillness. Tears flowed freely down Claire's face, relief washing over her. She had fought through the shadows and come out into the light. We're safe, Tommy. She let out a laugh, hugging him tightly as he giggled, his innocence shining bright. They could finally breathe easily in the silence that once felt so heavy. As they stepped out of the kitchen, the sun began to rise. The promise of a new dawn glimmered as Claire held Tommy's hand, knowing they'd face down the darkness together. The shadows had lost their power, and with each step into the light, Claire knew they had not just overcome something sinister but reclaimed their own lives. She would ensure Tommy grew up free from the chains of fear. This was only the beginning of their journey, but this time, they would walk it together, into the warmth of hope. Their laughter rang through the air, an anthem of strength against the dark, as Claire finally felt whole again. Do not let this moment end here. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button immediately so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories. Smash the like button now. Show your support for the channel and help us reach more amazing viewers like you. Flood the comments with your thoughts, reactions, and theories. What do you think happened to Claire and Tommy? We want to hear from you, and please, don't wait even one more second. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of lifting each other up during these moments.